Just about everyone knows that a typical automobile gets its power from an engine under the hood. But how many people can say they actually know how that engine works? While a modern internal combustion engine is obviously an extremely complex piece of machinery, the basic principle behind it is pretty simple. Let's take a closer look. At a high level, a gasoline engine can be thought of somewhat like an air pump, except that the exhaust coming out is more of a side effect. This pump's real purpose is to rotate an internal shaft, which in turn rotates the vehicle's wheels. It does this by connecting that shaft, called a crankshaft, to pistons that move due to a mixture of air and gasoline combusting inside their cylinders, which creates a sort of chain reaction that keeps the engine turning. Before getting deeper into this process, let's first touch on the two main parts of an engine. On the bottom, a lower block is home to the pistons, cylinders, and crankshaft, the latter of which sends the engine's power out to the transmission and wheels. And above, the head contains the top of the cylinders and manages their airflow and combustion through valve train, fuel injection, and ignition systems. So let's explain that part a little more. You may have heard the term four-stroke to describe a vehicle engine. This refers to its 4 stages of operation. First, the piston moves down, creating a vacuum in the cylinder chamber that pulls air in through precisely controlled intake valves. Next, the valves close and the piston raises back up, compressing all that air, along with some gasoline that was mixed in from the fuel injection system. Now the fun part. The ignition system creates a spark at the end of the spark plug, creating a controlled explosion of compressed air and fuel that sends the piston back down. Then finally, the piston moves back up, pushing that spent air-fuel mixture through the exhaust valves and out to the, you guessed it, exhaust pipes. And since we're dealing with multiple cylinders with pistons all working from the same crankshaft, each one essentially creates the 4-stroke process for the next one. Pretty ingenious, right? Now, speaking of multiple cylinders, let's talk about the various engine configurations. 4-cylinder engines are probably the most common design these days, but who doesn't love a V6 or even a V8? These terms simply refer to the number of cylinders in the engine and their layout. Nearly all 4-cylinder engines have their cylinders arranged in a row, called inline or straight. But it's also pretty typical to see engines group their cylinders into 2 banks connected at an angle, a V. Doing it this way effectively cuts the engine length in half, enabling it to fit more easily under the hood. So a V6, 3 cylinders on either side, creating a V shape. And what if that V shape was opened up all the way, a 180-degree angle? Well, then you'd have what's called a boxer or flat engine design.